there's just so many little bits in it that aren't right. Sometimes their attack is beautiful, fluid. Other times they're just checking each other with passes to the inside shoulder, low passes to the first receiver, and everything stutters off the back of that. Players who can handle the ball beautifully, just throwing silly offloads or forcing the ball. And everything they do now has that sense of kind of, they're just inhibited, and there's a weight on their shoulders. So that brittleness does worry me, and I don't know. Like, I'm not a professional coach. I think it's an unbelievably difficult challenge for those coaches to try and turn that around. What tone do you set now? You've tried the kind of hairdryer treatment. You've publicly called them out. I'm sure they're trying to be positive and say, listen, this is how close we are. This is a good Benetton team, and we should underline that, really good Benetton team. I thought their performance was just outstanding, but Ulster just have to find a way to knock that brittle, crumbling edge out of the game really quickly.
Yeah, you mentioned their upcoming schedule: La Rochelle away, staying at home. Then they have the Stormers as well in their first league game back. So no rest for the wicked. What do you do this week if you're Dan McFarland and his support staff?
Look, it depends what they've tried already, and all we've seen is what's been given to the public in terms of the hairdryer or treatment that Dan that you imagine followed on from Dan's press conference, where he was highly critical of their effort. I think you got to look at game management. So what players, if they're lacking confidence or there's something wrong, they love a reconfirmation of actually what the plan is. So to basically, you've got quality opposition. The atmosphere is going to be intense. Nobody expects Ulster to do anything. And what you got to do is try and create an energy and a vibe going down there, and to be able to get 2 or 3 things out of that you've targeted. So no matter what the result is, the players feel like they've turned a corner, and turn the page, to use the terminology they do. So what is that? We know the line-out maul is good, but realistically, is that going to be a key to winning the game against La Rochelle? Probably not, because I would say it's only very good against teams that are bigger and more powerful than, which are not going to be this weekend. But there'll be certain things that they can target against La Rochelle that will hopefully get them back on track. Because and the worrying thing is, if they don't get some kind of performance down there, and games away in France against good teams can get out of control for you pretty quickly, well then, it could become catastrophic or disastrous for the week after, obviously, which is a big home game against Sale, but then that Stormers game, and then suddenly they're looking over their shoulders, and maybe they're not going to get they're not going to be a top 4 side in the URC, which it would mean at the end of the season they made a massive step back. Like, the reality is, a lot of teams go through little dips during the season. Ulster are going through probably 2 little dips together at the moment, joined up in consecutive weeks. And if they get back on track and they finish second or third, and it's not going to be remembered. But I think if they don't find a way to get that group excited by the opportunity to play against La Rochelle and have 2 or 3 things that they identify as key to being in the game and then implementing them, I'd actually be worried that this doesn't just become a dip; it becomes a rut, and that will heap the pressure on Dan, and no one wants to be there.
Yeah, it is already rough for me.
Yeah,
this is disastrous in my eyes. Because it just hammers on those doubts that we had, that maybe they themselves have about themselves. Like, if this pressure is causing so much strife right now, then what happens when they get back into knockouts potentially and have that kind of pressure on them? Like, if this was Munster, I think we'd be talking about crisis. I honestly do. Like, it's a really worrying trend of games, and like, that's the reality of rugby. You're right, Birch. Like, there's a couple of things there that even there's a bit of misfortune, even for the Benetton try where they score off the turnover. It's turnover, and actually the Ulster players are swinging positively to get into shape to react, to try and score off the turnover, and then there's no one to guard the blind side. It's a little bit of misfortune there, but it's just such a bad run now, and it seems that the errors and the mental muddiness is just repeating itself. And yeah, things can change quite quickly. But I can only imagine the coaching staff are extremely worried. Obviously, Dan McFarland, as you mentioned before, linked with Leicester, and if you're getting an offer from there, or if there's interest from there, you're probably thinking, Christ, what can I do with this squad now? And is that actually slightly more attractive at the moment?